After giving my fiancé the password to my bank account to build our dream home, I discovered he had bought a penthouse for him and his secret girlfriend instead. When I cried, he coldly said, "You should have been smarter." I let him move in, and 2 weeks later, I sold the building out from under him, forcing him to leave with nothing but his suitcase. I wasn't raised to be naive. My mom used to say, if someone's too smooth, check their hands, he's probably hiding something. But Alec was different, or at least he seemed that way. My name is Haley. I'm 36, based in Tampa, Florida. I built my interior design business from scratch. I started with college dorms, moved up to single-family homes, and eventually got into luxury design for condos and new builds. I knew money. I knew real estate. I thought I knew people. That's why I can't believe how badly I let this happen. I met Alec at a high-end real estate networking event in Sarasota. He wasn't the best-looking guy in the room, but he had a presence, confident, fast-talking, that kind of southern charm that feels warm at first. He said he flipped properties. Showed me a few photos on his phone. Talked about his vision, how he wanted to build homes that meant something. We hit it off. Drinks led to dates. Dates led to him practically living in my condo. I thought he was ambitious. He always had new ideas, always knew someone. We talked about building a life together. Our own home, maybe in South Tampa or Davis Islands. Somewhere we could entertain. He made it sound like he'd been dreaming of it all his life. About 7 months in, he proposed. Nothing big, just the two of us in Clearwater Beach at sunset. I said yes. It felt right. I believed him. After that, he brought up the idea of the dream house again, but this time with urgency. There's this plot I know. It's going to be listed in 2 weeks, but if we can grab it now, we'll save a fortune. I just need to move fast, he said. He had an answer for everything. A plan for everything. I can handle the building side, Haley. I've done this before. You can focus on the interior, make it ours. You don't need the stress. Let me take this off your plate. I hesitated. I wasn't stupid. I asked questions. But every answer made sense. And I wanted to believe we were a team. So when he said we'd need to act fast, I gave him temporary access to one of my business accounts. I kept my main account separate. I told him the password was only for the transaction. He smiled and said, "Of course, babe. This is for us." 3 days later, $380,000 was gone. I didn't notice right away. He gave me constant updates, photos of blueprints, messages from supposed contractors, even receipts for permits. Everything looked legit. It wasn't until I asked for a timeline that things got weird. Suddenly, he was busy. Said he was handling delays. He stopped sleeping at my place. Said it was easier to stay near the site, which he said was near Hyde Park. I offered to stop by. He told me not to. That's when the dread started creeping in. One night, he left his iPad on my kitchen table while taking a shower. He never left his devices unattended. I wasn't even looking for anything, but the screen lit up with a message that made my stomach turn. It was from someone named Daniela. She wrote, "Can't wait to wake up next to you in our place, face blowing a kiss. I opened the message thread. There were dozens of texts. Photos of a penthouse. Receipts for champagne. A video of the view from the top floor, my money paid for that view. He wrote, "She has no clue. I'll close the account soon. After that, we're free." I took screenshots. Every text. Every timestamp. Every detail. When he came back to the kitchen, I asked him, "Who's Daniela?" His face went still. He didn't deny it. He didn't even look surprised. He stared at me and said, "You should have been smarter." I froze. That's when I knew I wasn't dealing with someone who made a mistake. I was dealing with someone who had planned every second. He packed that night. Told me he was moving into his new place. Said Daniela was everything I wasn't. That she believed in his future. Then he said, "You'll bounce back. You always do." I let him go. I told him I understood. That I didn't want drama. He seemed satisfied with that, like I'd just rolled over. What he didn't know was this: I waited 2 weeks. He and Daniela posted pictures constantly, champagne breakfasts, rooftop dinners, stupid quotes about manifesting success. So I made my move. I called my lawyer. We listed the building privately. No public listings, no open house signs. Just quiet, targeted offers to developers I'd worked with before. Within 4 days, I had an offer from a company turning buildings into luxury heirlooms. We closed in 8 days. That triggered automatic termination of month-to-month stays, especially ones without a lease. Alec got a notice delivered by courier. He came to my office, red-faced, cursing. Accused me of stealing his future. I looked him in the eye and said, "I didn't steal anything. I just took back what was mine." He called me crazy. Said I'd regret it. I told him I'd already regretted trusting him. He left the penthouse that night. Daniela didn't help him carry his things. He had 1 suitcase. The doorman said he waited outside for nearly 2 hours, calling people who didn't pick up. I haven't heard from him since. I got most of my money back from the sale. Enough to feel okay again. I used some of it to help a women's shelter in Pinellas Park, one that helps women rebuild their lives after financial betrayal. As for me, I still run my design business. I still love what I do. But I keep my accounts locked down tighter than ever. And I don't fall for smiles anymore. Things should have ended there, right? Alec got kicked out. I got my revenge. The building sold. Life moved on. But it didn't. Not completely. About a month after the sale, I started getting weird messages. Emails from burner accounts. No names, just subject lines like "You think this is over?" or "You're not as smart as you think." I ignored them at first, figuring Alec was just throwing a tantrum behind a keyboard. But then my business started getting hit. First, one of my design jobs got cancelled with no explanation. Then 2 more. When I called to ask why, one of the clients, an older couple in Bel Air, finally told me someone had called and said I was being investigated for fraud. Claimed I overbilled clients and falsified receipts. It was all fake, obviously. But the damage was done. My name was getting dragged around private Facebook groups in the high-end homebuilding scene. Nothing public enough to sue over. But just enough to make people nervous. My referrals dried up. Leads stopped calling back. Alec was trying to ruin me. I couldn't prove it, not yet. But I knew it was him. The timing was too perfect. And then, just to really twist the knife, I saw that he and Daniela had moved into another place nearby. This time he had someone else front the rental, so I couldn't trace anything to him directly. But they were living large again, pretending nothing had happened. That's when I decided to stop playing defense. I started making calls. Quiet ones. I reached out to a contractor I knew, Josh, who used to work with Alec a couple years back. They had a falling out over money. Josh was more than happy to talk. Turns out Alec had done this before. 3 times. Different cities: Orlando, Fort Myers, Jacksonville. He'd charm his way into women's lives, get access to money, then disappear once he drained what he could. Each time, he moved fast, made big promises, and vanished before lawsuits could catch up. I found one of the women, Laura, from Fort Myers. She had lost her small inheritance trying to flip a house with him. Another, Tara from Jacksonville, had opened a credit line in her name that Alec maxed out before ghosting her. Neither of them got justice. They had no proof. I did. I had bank transfers, texts, dates, photos, messages between him and Daniela. I had screenshots of him bragging about stealing from me. I had enough to bury him. But I didn't go to the cops. Not yet. I had something better. Of course he did. He showed up to the meeting dressed like a Wall Street reject. Slicked back hair, cheap cologne, fake Rolex. He gave them his whole speech about his years of experience flipping homes and managing capital. They played along. They told him they needed references. He gave them my name. Can you believe that? He had the nerve to say I was his former business partner. That's when we hit record. The whole thing got caught on video, him lying, misrepresenting his experience, listing fake properties he never owned, and name-dropping people he never worked with. We even caught him offering to fudge numbers on contracts to avoid taxes. I packaged it all up. I sent it to the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation. I sent it to the IRS. I sent it to every licensing board and business bureau he ever listed on a resume. Then I sent it to him. No note. No warning. Just a USB drive with a sticky note that said, "You should have been smarter." 3 days later, I got a call from a blocked number. He didn't speak. Just heavy breathing, and then he hung up. A week later, his LinkedIn vanished. His fake development company website went down. Daniela's social media went private. I heard from a friend that Alec tried to pitch a project to an investor in Miami. The guy had already seen the video. Word spreads fast in these circles when the right people get involved. Alec's name is mud now, no one serious will touch him. But I wasn't done. I flew to Fort Myers and met with Laura. Then I drove to Jacksonville to meet Tara. I handed them copies of my evidence and helped them file small claims suits to try to recover what they lost. I offered to cover their legal fees. They cried. Not because of the money, but because someone finally stood up to him and didn't back down. Now, Alec is nowhere. No phone. No address. I check sometimes, out of curiosity, but nothing comes up. Some part of me hopes he's out there broke, lying awake every night, wondering when the next hit will come. Because I'm not just some broken-hearted woman he can use and toss aside. I build things. And when someone tries to burn that down, I don't just rebuild. I bring the whole damn matchbox down with them. I thought I had shut every door on Alec. But I underestimated how deep his manipulation ran. About 3 months after I exposed him, I got a letter. Not an email. Not a message. A real, handwritten letter. No return address. It was in cursive, messy, like someone was writing fast. Inside was one sentence: "You don't know who you're really dealing with." No signature. No clue who sent it. But I recognized the handwriting. It wasn't Alec's. It was Daniela's. Now, I had only seen Daniela in photos. Always smiling, always draped on Alec like a trophy. I never thought much of her, just assumed she was another pretty face being used. But that letter made me think twice. I started digging. It turns out Daniela wasn't just some girl he picked up along the way. Her real name was Danielle Reyes. I found that out by reverse image searching an old Instagram photo she had posted at a local art gallery. I matched her name to a few business filings. She had history. A string of small shell companies tied to credit fraud in Georgia. Her name popped up in an old court filing in Atlanta, though the case was sealed. I even found an old mugshot. She looked almost unrecognizable. Longer hair, no makeup, but the eyes were the same. She wasn't his victim. She was his partner. They'd been running this together. The Penthouse scam, the fake business deals, the lies, they'd done this before. Probably with other people, maybe even switching roles each time. It all clicked. Alec wasn't some mastermind. He was just the face. Daniela was the one in the background moving the money, setting up the accounts, cleaning things up after. And I had only burned Alec. She was still in the wind. Then things got personal again. My business checking account got locked. When I called the bank, they said there had been multiple failed login attempts from an IP address in Atlanta. Someone had used my old access code from over a year ago. The same one Alec had. The one I'd changed, but hadn't removed from the archived permissions on a backup card. That was on me. I fixed it. I locked everything down. But I knew what was happening. This wasn't Alec trying to get his life back. This was Daniela getting revenge for him. And I wasn't having it. So I set another trap. I created a fake interior design portfolio under a new alias, Natalie Monroe. I set up a fake website, fake Instagram, fake email, and started pushing ads for elite renovation partnerships in Tampa and Miami. The kind of thing Alec and Daniela would see as bait. It took 3 weeks. Then, like clockwork, I got a message through the site. It was a fake name, of course, James Baldwin, but the language, the tone? All Alec. He said he was looking for a partner to help style and stage a group of short-term rental properties. Wanted to collaborate with someone visionary. I played dumb. I agreed to meet. But I didn't show up alone. I brought 2 people with me, Tara and Laura. They waited across the street in a rental car with tinted windows and a private investigator they'd hired after I helped them reopen their cases. I met Alec at a coffee shop in Coral Gables. He looked thinner. More tired. Still tried to act smooth. He didn't recognize me at first. My hair was darker. I wore big glasses. I played the part. He started his pitch. I listened. Nodded. Smiled. Then I leaned forward and said, I hope Daniela's watching this. Because she just made the biggest mistake of her life. His face went pale. He stood up fast and walked out. But by then, it was too late. The investigator had already snapped photos. Got his car, his plates, and, most importantly, got a clear photo of Danielle Reyes sitting in the passenger seat, wearing sunglasses, trying not to look. That's all we needed. This time, it wasn't just small claims. This was criminal. The investigator helped file formal fraud complaints across multiple counties, tying Alec and Daniela to documented scams in Fort Myers, Tampa, Jacksonville, Atlanta, and now Coral Gables. We passed everything to a contact I had at the Florida Bureau of Financial Investigations. Once they saw how deep the paper trail ran, and how many women they'd conned, it became a real case. 1 month later, warrants were issued. Alec got picked up trying to cross into Alabama. Daniela was arrested in Atlanta, where she'd been staying with her sister. It made local news. The articles didn't mention my name. I didn't want them to. But I followed every word. They were both being charged with multiple counts of fraud, wire theft, and criminal conspiracy. It wasn't just about the money. It was about how many lives they tried to destroy to get it. At the hearing, I sat in the back. They brought Alec out in cuffs. I didn't feel anything. Daniela came next. She looked around the courtroom like she still owned the place. When her eyes met mine, she smirked. Like she still believed she'd win somehow. She won't. Because this time I didn't just get revenge. I built a wall around every part of my life. And I left them both locked out. The trial took months. Alec's attorney tried every angle. Claimed he was manipulated by Daniela. Claimed he was the real victim. Said he was used for his image, and Daniela was the one pulling the strings. Daniela's team told the opposite story. Said Alec was abusive, that he controlled the money and made her believe they were building a life together. That she thought it was all real. They turned on each other fast. It was pathetic. They had lived off lies for so long that when it came time to defend themselves, all they could do was lie some more. But the problem was, they lied too much. They lied in emails, messages, contracts, applications. The prosecution had everything. My screenshots. The fake business documents. Their messages to each other. Even voice memos they didn't realize were backed up to a shared drive. The judge wasn't impressed with either of them. Neither was the jury. During testimony, I sat through every minute. I heard Alec call me a jealous ex who couldn't let go. I listened to Daniela pretend she didn't know I existed. And when it was my turn to testify, I didn't hold back. I told the court what happened. How Alec gained my trust. How he stole my money. How he told me I should have been smarter while he built a fake life with another woman in a home paid for with my savings. I told them about the fake job offers, the attempt to hack into my accounts, the smear campaign that cost me clients. I told them about the other women. Tara. Laura. And how none of them got justice, until now. When I was done, Alec wouldn't even look at me. Daniela just stared. No emotion. The verdict came back guilty on every count. Alec was sentenced to 11 years. No parole. Daniela got 7 years. Turns out her sealed case in Georgia had already put her on probation. This time, the judge made sure she'd serve real time. But that wasn't the end. Because court-ordered restitution kicked in. The money they stole from me, from Tara, from Laura, it had to be repaid. Their accounts were drained. Their fake business properties were seized. Alec's car, which he'd bragged about so much, was auctioned off. So was Daniela's jewelry and every trace of their fake luxury life. I got back most of what they stole. Not all of it. But enough. Enough to rebuild. Enough to breathe. Enough to move forward. But here's the part one haven't told anyone, not even my closest friends. Before Alec got sentenced, just days before the hearing, he sent me a letter from jail. It wasn't handwritten. It was typed. Cold. Like he wanted to control the tone. He said, "You'll never find anyone else who sees your ambition as clearly as I did. We were a power couple, Haley. You just didn't know how to use it." I didn't respond. But I did frame that letter. Not because I believe him. Not because I care. I framed it because it reminds me of the worst mistake I ever made, and the fact that I didn't let it break me. Since then, business has come back strong. Old clients started calling again. Word got around about what happened. Not the drama, but how I handled it. Quietly. Strategically. With backbone. One of my biggest projects now? A women's co-working space in St. Petersburg. Fully funded. I'm designing the interiors, top to bottom. Safe spaces. Strong spaces. No bullshit. Tara opened a consulting business. Laura teaches finance literacy workshops now. I speak at events sometimes, not about what happened, but about how to protect your business, and your gut. I don't date much. But I don't carry bitterness either. I carry lessons. Scars, maybe. But also clarity. Alec once told me I should have been smarter. He was right. But the difference between him and me? I learned from it. He's rotting in a cell. And I'm standing in the house I built myself. No lies. No shadows. Just mine.